What's up, dude? This is Joshy J. I am going to try and dissect why we try to combine structure and a mess. So how we can merge these two together to be able to create something that looks interesting but still makes a lot of sense. A few videos back, I made something about the fundamentals, and that is the one important thing that you are thinking about when we're creating structure. So when you're combining things that are structural, and you really understand them, you have the freedom to be able to make a mess. So I remember my one friend gave a great analogy. He was saying, like, so first of all, for example, when you're making a painting, the way that I do it is I love to throw everything at the painting first. So I'm going to throw the composition there. I'm going to throw the characters in there. I'm going to throw what they're wearing in there. I'm going to throw basic lighting, basic foreground elements, basic background elements, basically like a thumbnail. That's what I'm trying to say. But everything is there. I need everything to be there. And it's not perfect, but it's all there, and you can see that it's all there, and it's all you know where everything is, where everyone is, where the lighting is, and you basically know what's going on. And that's kind of the mess that you make. So the analogy my friend made was like, say you're trying to build something out of Lego, and there's this giant tub of Lego, and you're trying to look for each piece in this huge tub of Lego. It's going to be so hard to build this thing if you're looking for a particular piece. But if you throw all the Lego out on the carpet and you spread it out and you take like an overview of it, then you'll be able to see where the piece is, or like what you're looking for. And I thought that was such a fantastic analogy. I was like, dude, that like hits home so well. And if you think about a painting in that same light, like you throwing everything at the canvas, you're throwing the mess at the canvas. And then you discover you find all the pieces while you're throwing this mess together. And you have this idea already going on in your mind. And you can kind of like structuralize, that's definitely not a word. You can structuralize the mess that you've made there. The mess that you've made on the painting. And it's great. I kind of apply this to like all of my paintings, and actually, to be honest, a lot of my favorite artists do this as well. They'll like throw everything at it and then kind of clean up their mess. And at least I think about my paintings in that same light. It's like, I'm just gonna make a mess on this painting with the idea that I have, and then I'm gonna clean up my mess. And you find like at the end, it has like a lot of looseness to it. It has this like organic flow that's in it, because there's a lot of procedural process stuff that's still in there, that you've still left in there, and I love that. I think paintings that have this flow to them, where you can see where they began just by the lines that are there, or like where they started by the brush strokes that are still there from when they started, and it's not completely fully polished. There's just something energetically beautiful about that. You can feel like there's a lot more movement, and that this person like didn't try to make something perfect. They try to make something beautiful, and I think that's a great way to kind of look at it. It is a personal preference, but I think it's just it keeps the art side in it. I'm not going to tell anyone what art is, but at least in my mind, it's a lot of it is, it's very, very, very imperfect in my mind. It's very imperfect. And when you can see the things of something that made it what it is, the steps from the beginning that made it what it is, that's when there's a lot of authenticity in it as well. So this is why I kind of keep all my loose lines, and I keep everything like quite flowy, and I tend to, if there's a mistake, that's actually a good point, is like when you do this process, this way of combining like structure and mess, you tend to find a lot of happy accidents along the way that you wouldn't ordinarily have found if you didn't do this process. So like if you've studied a lot of artwork and your visual library is like dense and it's solid, and you're making this mess, it's like this structural mess, I like to call it, then you find things that you've got up in your head. You find them there because they're in there, and nothing is entirely specific when you're putting it down on the painting, or when you're putting it down on the paper. It's like there's still space and there's still room for happy accidents. Happy accidents come from the things that you already know. For example, like if I'm in a car driving and I'm like looking at the clouds, it's rad because when I look at the clouds, because I've looked at so much artwork and studied so many different pieces, I just see like characters and faces and like weird proportions and interesting things like all over the place. And it's cool. That's part of your conscious mind, unconscious mind, because that takes like the things that you've seen and like different things that you've seen, and it kind of like merges them together. And that's actually where a lot of interesting things come from. And this deep down because it's in your head. So when you look at something that's not specific, like when someone says, what do you see? Like when you look at something that's not specific, that's basically your unconscious mind combining the things that you have already seen. So if your brain is filled up with interesting different artworks, that's rad because that means you are exposed to great things. So you're exposed to like interesting combinations of things that you might never have come up with, but deep down inside. And I this is why passively receiving artwork, and you just let it, like really good artwork, and you let it flow inside your brain, you're gonna create good. And it's a classic thing, like whatever you surround yourself by, you become. And I only want to surround myself with great art and art that aligns with me, that I want to create stylistically on my phone, on Pinterest, on ArtStation. I only want to follow people that have art that I want to internalize and that I want to be able to affect the mess that I make when I'm doing art. I want them to affect it because it's inside my brain, and when I'm putting down the mess, the things that I'm going to see are the things that are stacked in my visual library. This is the way that I lean towards doing paintings. A great way to do this is to set up your brushes to, like, it's good to have I have a square fade brush that's like very rigid and it's very clear to distinguish what you're making. But I keep a lot of organic brushes as well. I use Sketchbook Pro sometimes as well, and it's rad because a lot of the brushes there are very oily, very painterly, and you get these like stray bristles and stray brush strokes that you didn't necessarily plan for immediately. So that's cool because you can kind of make sense out of this mess that you're trying to clean up. And I always think I'm like cleaning up my own mess when I'm making a painting. And it's cool. I mean, this way of doing things, I find I like to do it in a lot of different avenues as well. Like not only in art, I like to like throw everything out there. Even when we're coming up with ideas, like idea generating, myself and my team, it's like we want to throw everything out there. And then we want to pick and choose the things that make sense, and we want to refine those and make them like solid. And that's when you start to build the structure, is when you have thrown everything out there and you've tossed away what doesn't make sense or it's not really stone solid. And then you take the things that are interesting and that you visualize and can see the potential in them, and you kind of refine them, and you're like, okay, let's make the structure solid. Let's clean up this mess over here. And you kind of get to choose like where you clean up. But yeah, these are the ways that I like to approach a lot of my paintings. It's just by structure and mess. So you have this combo, the contrasted combo of structure and mess. And a lot of interesting paintings, when you look at them now, you might see that there's still a lot of mess in them, but they keep the structure so solid. It's like keeping it loose but clean, you know what I mean? Loose but clean, you know what I mean? Yeah, dudes, thank you for sticking through. I would love to hear what you guys think about this. Leave it in the comments. And if you like my artwork, you can check out my other social media pages. Just search Joshy J. And yeah, otherwise, if you think your friends will get something from this, or anyone, feel free to share it with them. And otherwise, I will check you guys in the next one. Cheers.